Do you want to write a book but can't come up with an idea? Well, you're in luck because today I'm going to show you a few quick tricks that I use to get the story ideas flowing. So stick around. Hey everybody, Keith Wheeler here, and if you want to continue to get all the hints, tips, and tricks on how to make self-publishing a little bit easier to navigate, then subscribe to the channel and hit your little bell icon so you get alerted each and every time I put out new content. In a previous video, I talked about how to write when you don't have the time, and I'll include a link to it here. But today, we're going to talk about how to write when you don't have an idea for a story. But first, where do you get your ideas from? Tell me about them in the comments below. How to get story ideas seems like a daunting task, I know. But it doesn't matter whether you want to write fiction or nonfiction. There are a few simple tricks and exercises that you can do to help reignite the old spark of creativity. Let's start with nonfiction. Everybody's good at something. Whether you're 7 or 107, there's something that you know a lot about. Whether it's your job, a hobby, a sport, or even a condition that you may have, you know what it's like to work with, play with, or live with something. And that can be the focus of your book. Because whatever it is, you're not the only one who does it, plays it, or is affected by it. So write about it. Now that you have your story idea, the next question is what to write in your book. Here's a simple exercise that I advise people to use. Number 1, write down the top 10 to 12 questions that you get asked in relation to your topic. If you don't get asked questions about it, then write down the top 10 to 12 things you wish other people knew or understood about your story idea. Number 2, these 10 to 12 ideas will now be the chapters in your book. So go through each question or idea and answer or explain it. It may be easier to work what I call laterally, meaning write a little about idea 1, then move on to idea 2, and so on. And that's it. There's the main idea and the layout of your book. And don't worry if you only came up with a few questions or ideas. That's fine. You'll just end up with a shorter book. But what if you want to know how to get a story idea for a fiction book? Don't worry, I've got you covered there too. Think back to your favorite books going all the way back to your childhood and write them down on a list. Now comes the fun part. It's time to play the question game. You can start off by asking, what if? For example, what if the Three Musketeers were time-traveling cyborgs? What if Goldilocks was a pirate and she was boarding 3 ships to see which one was perfect for her to steal? Too much? Okay. Perhaps you don't want to just retell a classic story, and that's fine. You can take a classic and build off of the unknowns. Again, you can ask questions like, why? For example, why in Goldilocks was a little girl roaming through the woods without her parents? You can write an entire young adult novel based on the life of Goldilocks before she entered the woods. You could even call it Before We Met. Or you can ask another question, like, what next? You can continue the story of Goldilocks and just write about what happened to her after she ran out of the bear's cabin. You can name that story after the encounter. So you can see how once you start asking questions like what if, why, and what next, the ideas just come rushing in. After all, the classics are called classics for a reason. So if you're looking for a story idea, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just change the tires. That's it for this video. I'd love you to give it a thumbs up to help support the channel. And if you want to continue to get all the hints, tips, and tricks on how to make self-publishing a little bit easier to navigate, then be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit your little bell icon so you get alerted each and every time I put out new content. I'm Keith Wheeler, and until next time, remember to write right.